Hey everybody, we're going to go over the projected balance sheet. A lot of companies do projections. Anyone can do a revenue projection, an income projection, and they do their cash flow projections. You have to tie it in together to get to your pro forma or projected balance sheet. Everything needs to match, and this is a good tool used to demonstrate to a creditor, an investor, to yourself, where you're going to be in 12 months. So this is a startup company I generated a demonstration for. I'm going to start with the end, the solution, and then we'll work backwards to how we got there. So at the end of the year, we're going to have minus $15,000 in cash, $811,000 of receivables, $1.3 million of capital assets. We're going to have accounts payable and long-term debt, share capital, retained earnings. Then from that, we will know what our ratios are. So at the end of the year, debt to equity, less than 3 to 1. Great. Debt service, greater than 1.25 to 1. Fantastic. Current ratio, greater than 1 to 1. So I can say to a creditor or an investor, hey, we want to make this purchase, but all our ratios are offside when we make it. Within 6 months or a year or 2 years or whatever the case may be, we will be on side of our covenants, but we need to make this purchase for our business. So that's the projected balance sheet. I'll run through quickly. How do we get there? So here's a revenue projection. I've got 14 trucks that the company started with. Maximum revenue estimated per truck would be $33,000. So maximum revenue per month is $462,000. Add some conservatism into the projection. So 462 times 60 is 277,000. Then in October, we're purchasing 3 more trucks because it's going to be very, very busy. And look, we hit 120% of our maximum revenue. It must have been very busy that month, or we're projecting it to be. Then back to conservative estimates. So the company should do $5 million. Then we've got our trucking revenue pulling from above, shop revenue for external mechanic work, total revenue for the year $319,000, or for the month, and so on. I've got fuel calculating at 26%. I've got wages at 25% of the wrong figure. So let's drag that across. Now all that will flow right to the projected balance sheet. Make sure this one's right. Yeah, 26% of trucking revenue. Let's use this figure, just in case. Okay, and then we've got wage burdens, margin after fuel and wages. You have to decide for your business what are the direct costs, and then the variable overhead would be everything else that depends on how much you work, but it doesn't fluctuate with every day or everything you sell, every product you sell. And then fixed overhead are those things that you just can't, you have to pay no matter what. You've made an obligation, or you have utilities, or you have administrative staff. That's your fixed overhead. So this is drawing in from fixed overhead monthly. I used to do this just for the whole year, but if you're going to add growth into your projections, then you need to add fixed overhead at a certain level. So on this one, I added a truck lease and I added a $5,000 admin staff. So overhead grows from 94 to 106. So if we go back to our 12-month projection, once I fix that formula, the cash is higher, AR is higher or the same, and equity should be higher, 960,000, and the ratios get a little bit better. So driving all this, if this is our opening balance sheet, $100, 100 shares, and we have $48,000 truck leases, but in September, we're going to do a capital asset acquisition for $1.35 million, buying 3 trucks. That's Canadian with some equipment on it. So, like I said before, anyone knows their cash flow forecast. So you've got how much money is coming in from your receivables. In this business, none in the first 2 months. They don't see any money until the 3rd month. You still have all your monthly expenses, and so the expenses are $274,000, and most of them are going to be carried into the next month. You can get wages usually don't wait till the next month. Fuel waits. Some of the overheads will wait. So you have to adjust your accounts payable formula to the reality. So you have your cash receipts, then your total disbursements. So opening AP minus ending AP adjusts for when you actually pay for things. So in this, I'm only saying that we're out $4,800, which probably isn't realistic. They probably got to pay some of their expenses ahead of time. Then July, same story. Then cash starts coming in. Net cash flow in this month is still negative. This is where you go to the bank and say, look, we have, at our worst, we have $210,000 in the hole. If we're busier, we might be deeper in the hole. If we're slower, we're probably less in the hole. It depends on the difference between your fixed overheads or all your overheads and your billable hours. But anyone can go to the bank and say, hey, we're going to do $500,000 a month. But then if this number is minus $350,000, they may not like your plan because you're only applying for $200,000. So then September, we have capital asset acquisition, $1.35 million, 100% financing. So cash flow in 1.35, cash flow out 1.35. Now this will flow up into long-term financing. I usually don't send this part of the spreadsheet to the banks or anyone that's using the projection. This just helps the whole thing flow. So you have an advance of 1.35. Let's say you don't have a payment until November. You still have interest accruing on that loan. And eventually you start making your payments and your principal balance drops. Then you know you could have a whole schedule of all your debt and what the principal is on each loan. This is a little simple. So everything ties. There's your debt at the end on the pro forma balance sheet. So now the user of the projection knows where they're at the end of the year. This is a good tool just for management to look at it and go, okay, if we do nothing, how much cash will we have? Even at 100% financing, how much cash will we have at the end of the year? The revenue would have to be adjusted for that, but sometimes there's 30% down trucks. At the end of the day, you want to make sure each of the ratios are healthy. That's why they use all 3 ratios. You can manipulate things to improve your debt to equity, but it may impair your debt service or your current ratio. You could pay off all your debt and have no cash, So you have to look at all three of these ratios and make sure that they're in line with your business decisions. The reason you want to do this, even if your bank doesn't ask for it, is you want to show the bank that you know what you're doing. The junior associate that you're working with or the junior credit guy in the back room are going to try to piece together your story and do their best to do a projection and figure out where you're going to be. Do it for them. Don't let them do it for you. This section here, so lots of margin lines of credit out there. You've got accounts receivable minus what you owe the government. Gives you your marginable AR, your margin percentage, typically 75%. Gives you a line of credit of $239 to start, then $478, and so on. Right here we can see, my line of credit is, we have a hard cap on it of $750,000. That's not sufficient for the operation. We still have ample room in the cash, but when you go into annual review, you may want to say, hey, look, my receivable is $1 million and my hard cap is $750. Or sorry, my margin room is $1 million and my hard cap $750. We got to lift that cap because I'm not being margined properly. And then when I go to buy equipment or do a major repair, I may not have the cash that I should be afforded. For this year, you can see there's only a couple months where it's under margined. That's my template for the projected balance sheet, which I think is what a lot of companies are missing. Everybody can do a revenue projection. Everybody can do a cash flow projection, but you need to know where you're going to be in 12 months, 24 months. Demonstrate to investors when there be a dividend. It's okay that there's retained earnings, but if there's not enough cash or you're in the line of credit, you don't pay a dividend. Maybe you do. It's the projected balance sheet that you're going to make these decisions on. The revenue projection can also be completely expanded. Maybe that is the most important part of your business, to figure out your margin on different products that you have. You may have a 15% margin on one product and 40% on another. And maybe you're a retail store that's trying to figure out the right product mix. And if you're going to bring on a new line of tools or something, then maybe you want to see how that new margin flows through and affects your balance sheet at the end of the year. And yeah, that's my cash flow projection template. Looking forward to comments below if anyone wants to discuss. Send a message. Thanks.